In the last video, I made the rookie mistake of blindly trusting the wiki, so there's one small correction I'd like to address. Instead of Toolshed's Drill Slinger having only 75% potency, it's actually 100.5%. Thanks to Raxer for pointing out the mistake and also providing the correct values he data mined himself. The values he posted are the internal skill powers before scaling for the character's individual DNA bonuses, which isn't what I'm looking for, but thanks to his help, the new character data I have moving forwards will be calculated directly for more accurate values. So with these values, these will be the exact potencies for Toolshed's attacks and Callgirl's Flash Mob. Now back to the video. Now that we've unlocked our first epic artifact slot, we're going to equip the Time Reamer artifact. Time Reamer comes from the arcade in Qazplm, and its effect doubles the damage of time pause punches. On top of that, we're going to equip the Psycho DNA, which boosts Brawn by 50% in exchange for dropping our Spunk and Brains and losing the extra space of movement we had this whole time. Now with all these together, our time pause punches get boosted all the way up to 240% potency, and all of this adds up to 1200 potency for 5 punches, or 1440 for 6 punches. On top of that, defense down was boosted up to 1800% or 2160%, so you can see how absurd the numbers get with this. Because Psycho DNA has 2 moves, this will actually affect our turn order later on. The new kid's turn order is weird in this game. Every character has something called an initiative value, which determines their turn order. For party members, this never changes. For the new kid, this changes based on their move stats. By default, the new kid's turn is faster than Toolshed, but slower than the Coon. This is actually a weird value that you usually only see when first loading the game. With 2 move, the new kid is slower than Wonder Tweak, but faster than Captain Diabetes. With 3+ move, the new kid becomes the fastest party member. This includes gaining move from artifacts like the Fanatic Visage, or DNA like the Touch of Youth or Alien DNA. So the final hierarchy ends up being new kid with 3 move, Mintipator Crunch, Fast Pass, Mosquito, the Coon, default new kid, Toolshed, Wonder Tweak, new kid with 2 move, Captain Diabetes, Call Girl, Human Kite, Henrietta, Mysterion, Professor Chaos, Super Craig, and Tupperware. Now, with 2 move and 3+ move both covered, you're probably wondering what default new kid means. The new kid's initiative is actually bugged and doesn't update right away. You need to go into combat once and exit out to update it. You can exit out of battle either by winning or reloading a checkpoint, but you must get into combat first. So in the case of the Professor Chaos fights, even though we have Psycho DNA equipped, new kid is still the fastest party member. If you reload the checkpoint and go back in, new kid would go after Toolshed, which thankfully has no negative effects on this fight. Whenever you load up a save though, you'll start off with this weird turn order which you'd rarely see otherwise. This makes it a bit annoying for practice because you'll usually need to reload a checkpoint before you actually practice a fight. Plus it makes changing turn order clunkier for the run, because we have to change DNA at a fight in advance. Though it does technically give us 2 extra tools to work with, though as of now, everything's been routed to still work properly with the proper turn order for your DNA. There's a bit more to turn order which you can learn about in Raxter's video, as well as some other game mechanics like action points, which I'll link down in the description. There's one part I disagree with him involving the new kid's turn order not being affected by the moveset, but otherwise it's a great video if you want to learn more about the game. We want new kid to be slower for the City Ninjas fight coming up soon, so this is just the most convenient time to swap to Psycho DNA since we need to equip the Time Reamer anyways. As for skills, we'll also swap Ghastly Grasp for Quantum Fist and Dire Shot for Soul Slash. And if you did the class dupe, you'd have Full Force Fisting equipped as well. Now we can finally take on the dastardly Professor Chaos. Our party stays the same from the previous fight. At the start, Professor Chaos is going to suddenly jack up our ultimate gauge to 52% and shoot lava at Toolshed to raise it further. We'll have the new kid do a double Quantum Fist to get Professor Chaos low, and then have Call Girl move to the left and use Phone Destroyer to end the phase. Chaos' turn order gets preserved between phases, and we want him to go right away so we can time pause him and not a Chaos minion to skip his turn. We only need 4 punches in this time pause to end this phase and go to the final phase. For this one, we're going to have Fast Path start off with a hit and run and then have Toolshed finish him off with his ultimate full bore. If you brought Brutalist with you, you can actually use Double Edge to reach the boss and then kill him with a single full force fisting, which saves about 2 seconds thanks to having a much faster animation. Hyperspace Fury can also one-shot Professor Chaos, but it's a much longer animation. Plus Toolshed has Burn, which wastes animation time, so it ends up being slower than just using hit and run plus full bore. After school the next day, we're going to take a quick detour by fast traveling to City Walk and then immediately fast travel to Cartman's house after. This is to trigger the Mitch Connor cutscene in the middle of the fast travel animation. Normally the cutscene stops your movement, but the fast travel cutscene cancels it, letting us progress while the phone call is still going on. It's impressive how Qazplm can call us while waiting with everyone else in the Kun lair. We're then going to go to Butter's house where we get grounded by his dad and unlock the Haywire ability to escape. This is the other buddy action that's faster to do manually as minigame assist has a weird delay after it. Now it's time to finally go beat up Butter's dad. I mentioned earlier on how I put Call Girl and Fast Pass in this specific order in the party to affect their positioning here. If I swap them, you can see Fast Pass is now in the corner while Call Girl is on top. It's important to note that this isn't a universal thing. The same applies for at least a few stages of Danger Deck, though I don't know if all stages work like this. There's other algorithms used for determining party positioning which I'll touch on more, but just know that changing your party order doesn't affect all fights. At the start, everyone except the new kid gets grounded and our ultimate gets replaced with a skill to unground one ally. We only need to unground Call Girl because of how fast this fight goes. Once she's ungrounded, she'll use Phone Destroyer to inflict defense down on Butter's dad. I want a Call Girl in the corner so that Butter's dad targets the new kid instead of Butters. We can then move up one space to use Quantum Fist. Call Girl will use Phone Destroyer one more time and now we get to see a full time pause in action. With a full 6-punch time pause, we can instantly take out the rest of Butter's dad's health. The timing for a 6-punch is tight though, so we can finish him with another Quantum Fist after if you only get 5 hits in. Quite the satisfying end for all the abuse Butters has to deal with. Who's grounded now, bitch? Now that Professor Chaos has been ungrounded, he's officially joined our party. Unfortunately for him though, he is down there as one of the worst party members and it's only used because it costs time to swap him out. The only move we'll be seeing from him is his Chaos Blast. This is the only damaging move outside of his ultimate. And thankfully it's a ranged attack which makes up for his lack of movement. His Chaos Confusotron inflicts shock and confuse on one enemy up to 3 blocks away, and while it could have some potential, so far I haven't found any fights where we could benefit from confusion. Especially since having to deal with turn order restricts its usefulness further since we have to prioritize hitting enemies, so it's hard to come up with setups that don't just cancel out the confusion. We won't be unlocking his Chaos Minion skill, but that one's complete trash anyways because the minions do less damage in the 3 turns they exist than a single Chaos Blast would do. I think we've kept Mitch Connor waiting long enough, so let's head to Soto Sopa and see what he has in store for us. Oh no, it's an ambush! Who could have seen this coming? We'll be keeping the same party for the Shitty Ninjas fight as party positioning happens to work out really well, and everyone has their uses. For the first turn, Fast Pass will move left one space and skip his turn. This forces the head ninja to move up to this T formation while also being just out of range to hit anyone. The rest of the ninjas will follow suit, creating the perfect T-shape for a Soul Slash, which is why I wanted to delay the new kid's turn for this fight. Now we're going to have the new kid move over and take advantage of Double Edge's extra turn of movement to reach the head ninja and use Soul Slash. Then we're going to go in for a full 4-hit Soul Slash. Next, Call Girl is going to move left one space and use Phone Destroyer on the top ninja to get rid of him, and Fast Pass will use Blindside to take out the 2 ninjas in the center. More ninjas will appear and because of our party's position, the ninja will attack both the new kid and Call Girl. I specifically moved Call Girl here earlier so they both get hit and double dip on the ultimate gauge charging. Next, Professor Chaos will move down and attack the other ninja to boost the ultimate gauge and get hit in return. Fast Pass will now take out the ninja below him and will now have filled up the ultimate gauge. The next wave of enemies is scattered across the map, so it's a perfect time for a flash mob. This isn't enough to take out all the ninjas, but with defense down on all of them, we can take them out with one time pause punch each. With the shitty ninjas out of the way, we can now head to the Freedom Palace base. Along the way, I'm going to set up the character load glitch again by swapping Professor Chaos to the Kun and glitching in Chaos and Toolshed. Upon entering the Freedom Palace base, we lose access to all our allies from Kun and friends and have them all replaced by the Freedom Pals. Wonder Tweak and Tupperware are both completely useless for the run. Wonder Tweak is a nice unit for crowd control with his freeze attack, but his on-turn damage is complete garbage. His Supreme Lightning only hits for 80% potency and Icicle Strike is only 130. Plus, frozen enemies still play an animation, and while it is faster than many attack animations, it barely cuts down on animation time. He has a single target heal as well, so he has a lot going for him, just not what we want for the run. Tupperware's a tank, but his damage is the lowest of all our tanks. His main skill is AoE and inflicts knockback, but he hits too little against a single target and doesn't even have good range. He has a position swap which could have some uses, but so far I haven't found any places where it saves time. He can also summon a turret which, while it can do some decent damage, especially for its range, we kill fast enough that the extra turns are just a waste. Mysterion on the other hand is the best party member in the entire run. And no, I'm not just saying that because he's my favorite character. His Demonic Fury is the least important part of his kit. It's a strong single target attack with no other effects, but it's great when you can't take advantage of knockback. His Dread Rush attacks up to 3 enemies in a row and has reverse knockback, which can do quite a bit of damage later on as well as reposition enemies. The best part of his kit though is his Dark Whisper. Hits a single enemy, applies defense down, and repositions them. While it may seem like a waste for Mysterion to use Dark Whisper when we already have Call Girl's Phone Destroyer, especially when Mysterion has Demonic Fury. His Dark Whisper takes half as much time as Phone Destroyer, making him the better character for applying defense down for the run. His ultimate is also very strong as it's AoE and is tied for highest potency amongst party members, but unfortunately it kills him in the process, which makes it a last resort. Unlike your typical RPG character, Mysterion doesn't get KO'd, he actually dies for real and turns into dead Mysterion. This means he can't be revived with items and needs to pop his ultimate to come back to life, but in exchange his kit completely changes. While there's some things you can do with dead Mysterion to cheese fights harder than all the alcohol in town, there's no use for it in the run. He loses the ability to attack altogether and becomes a debilitator instead. And since he's our second best attacker after the new kid, we definitely don't want him to die. Now we can move on to the retirement home. Before we go in, we're going to equip Supersonic Dash and the Alien DNA. Also, we're going to switch over to Diabolic mode, which you'll see why in a bit. The fight also has different positionings in the middle of a run as opposed to loading up from a save file. But unfortunately I don't have a recording of the fight done properly in their run, so here's a practice version instead. Starting off, Wonder Tweak will skip his turn and New Kid will run all the way to the left and use Supersonic Dash to get to the other side. The old man will knock New Kid into the exit area, but we need to bring the rest of our living party members over to end the fight. Emphasis on living party members. We're going to have the old people take out the rest of our party to end the fights instead of bringing them all over. Professor Chaos will move to the corner and Tupperware will move up 1 so that both him and Chaos die to the old people in wheelchairs. Wonder Tweak will then die from Rosette on his next turn. The overall strat is still the same in a run, but you swap Professor Chaos and Wonder Tweak's roles. I don't know the exact cause, but I think playing for too long or progressing too much just causes stuff to break. There's more that will break later on, so this isn't an isolated incident.